Over the past few years, without Conor McGregor's help, the UFC have really struggled to sell over 1 million pay-per-view buys on a pay-per-view card, and this is how you do it. I'm going to show you in today's video, which is a card builder video. I'm going to build the card for UFC 290 on International Fight Week in July and show you how to sell over 1 million pay-per-view buys. I haven't done one of these videos in a very long time, but I thought it's the perfect time to bring it back because I'm well and truly out of content. Top row. Main and co-main event. Row below that with the 3 big ones, the rest of the main card. The 4 below that, the prelims, and the 4 below that at the bottom of the screen are the early prelims as well. Let's go through it, and I'll show you why I chose the fights that I'm putting on this card as I go through the video. We start straight away with the main event. Right here. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. No brainer. We know this is the fight the UFC wants to make next. I'm interested in seeing this fight in July. I think it makes all the sense in the world, and I'm really looking forward to it. So, we know about the main event, okay? There's the rest of the card that's the really interesting stuff, but this is what you can do. You don't have Conor McGregor in the main event. You've got to have Jon Jones fighting Stipe Miocic. The fight sells itself. It'll be a massive, massive build-up. The problem with this matchup is, although you can sell it, and it would sell a lot of pay-per-views on its own with a really weak card underneath it, just because of the fact that you've got the light heavyweight GOAT and arguably the GOAT of the sport if you ignore multiple PED tests, which you don't do for TJ Dillashaw, but we do it for Jon Jones for some bizarre reason. But for Jon Jones, the GOAT of the sport, the light heavyweight GOAT, he's taking on the heavyweight GOAT, Stipe Miocic. You can say that in the build-up of this fight, and no one's really going to correct you and say you're wrong. Light heavyweight GOAT, GOAT of the sport, Stipe Miocic, the GOAT of heavyweight in the UFC. A perfect matchup to happen. I think that would be a really, really good fight. So, that sells it. That's the big marquee name at the top of the fight card. We now move on to the co-main event. This is the... I don't care what he says. The UFC have made it very clear. The co-main event is Leon Edwards versus Colby Chaos Covington. I know no one else wants this matchup, and people are saying that Colby Covington doesn't deserve it, but the UFC have made it very clear. Very, very clear. And not only do I want this, but I think this is the perfect card to make Leon Edwards take this matchup and make Leon Edwards want this matchup, because there are a bunch of other names in the division that Leon Edwards could take on, and the UFC will say, okay, headline your own pay-per-view card in August, headline your own pay-per-view card in September. But the reason why you make this fight at UFC 290 in the co-main event, aside from it being a massive, massive draw of a fight that will add a whole bunch of pay-per-view buys to this card, is you say, hey, Leon Edwards, you're the champ now. We didn't give you pay-per-view shares for UFC 286. We'll give you pay-per-view shares for this one. And you're going to get pay-per-view shares, 5% maybe, who knows, off of this Jon Jones pay-per-view. If you don't want to take the Covington fight and make this fight happen, this is what the UFC will do to make Edwards take this fight. If you don't want to take this fight, you can go on another pay-per-view card. No big deal. You want the Covington fight? Here's what we'll do to incentivize, whatever that word is, incentivize you to take this matchup. We'll put you on the card in the co-main event and you'll get 5% of the pay-per-view shares. This one's going to sell over 1 million. Leon Edwards all of a sudden, that's 9 signatures in a row. He'll be signing any contract you give him. Edwards versus Covington, not to mention the press conference. If you have Colby Covington on the same press conference as Jon Jones, come on now. That just sells itself. A little interaction backstage on the embedded episodes between Jon Jones and Colby Covington. It sells itself. We move on to the rest of the main card. We have the feature fight of the card, which is going to be right here. Dustin Poirier. And you know who he's going to be up against. It's Justin Gaethje. This is the matchup. Justin Gaethje just went for a war on the same card that Leon Edwards fought Kamaru Usman. So I don't think he's going to be ready for June, which is where I wanted that matchup to happen. But this rematch, it just adds an instant 100,000 pay-per-view buys to this card. It doesn't even need it, but if we want to go over 1 million, it does need it. Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, The rematch, it's been a very long time since they first fought each other. The first fight, they could post it up on YouTube in the build-up. It will get millions and millions of views because it's an absolutely amazing war back and forth between the two of them that Dustin Poirier came out on top of. Justin Gaethje's evolved since then, so now there's questions. Who's actually going to win this rematch? It's not like, Poirier won the first one, he'll win the second one. No, Gaethje's changed his style and improved and proved me wrong time and time again that he's not the old Gaethje and he's actually an improved version of himself. Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje, perfect addition to this card. Imagine the press conference. I just told you with Colby Covington and John Jones on the card. I told you about that. Fair enough. Imagine Poirier there as well. And I don't know if you're looking at the lineup here, but we're talking Jones, Edwards, and Poirier on one side, and Covington on the other side. So he's going to be saying all he wants. Plus, he's been going at Justin Gaethje as well. So maybe Gaethje will start piping up on the same side of the press conference that Colby's on. And then it'll be Covington. Covington needs to be in like a secure container in the middle of the press conference and just be like dangling above everyone else, roasting them out of reach and out of harm's way. That's what he needs to be doing. We need Colby Covington at a press conference with Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, John Jones. Come on, that gets literally millions and millions of views of that press conference. And I know Stipe Miocic is a great man and a hero and all that. He's a fireman, all this good stuff. He will not steal this fight for anything. So you need someone else going at John Jones. I can see it right now. John Jones, Colby Covington get into altercation at the press conference. Millions and millions and millions of views. Bring in them pay-per-view buyers. This might do 1.5 million. We might be closer to 2 million once I show you the rest of this card. Now we've spent the money. It'll pay for itself because the pay-per-views will sell amazingly and it is International Fight Week, so we can afford it. We now need to have some good matchups that aren't going to be crazy expensive. The first of those matchups are a fight that's been rumoured to take place on this card. Dominic Cruz in a rematch against Cody Garbrandt. This normally isn't the matchup I would make, but the UFC are saying that this one's actually in the works. It's being talked about. It's being discussed. It's a good way to get Cody Garbrandt back into the rankings. And Dominic Cruz is, of course, going to say yes to that because he wants to right the wrong that was losing to Cody Garbrandt that many years ago. This is a great matchup. Not only will both guys want it for different reasons, Garbrandt to jump back into the rankings, Cruz to perfect his legacy and have a bit of an improvement on his legacy, which has taken a little bit of a hit recently. Dominic Cruz, Cody Garbrandt, they will yap at each other. Imagine the press. This is an Imagine the Press Conference simulator video right here. I'm going to say it about 10 times. John Jones, Colby Covington, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Dominic Cruz, Cody Garbrandt. Colby Covington versus everyone in a free-for-all. He will sell this. And I promise you, all the people that are saying we don't want Covington to get a title shot, Belal Muhammad should have got the title shot. I'm telling you, when you watch the press conference, everyone's going to forget all about that. Credentials what? Most deserving title contender what? I want to see this fight this weekend. That's what they're going to be saying. It's going to change their tune completely. Let's make this matchup happen. And that one as well. Dominic Cruz, Cody Garbrandt, a good rematch. Might go at each other. Probably will interact with the other fighters at the press conference during the build-up as well. That's a great fight to have on the card that adds some value. We move on to another fight that's going to add some value to the card. Belal Muhammad versus Shavkat Rakmanov. A great fight to add to this card to start off the main card. Not only do you give it the spotlight to then build up the hype for a potential winner of that fight to take on the winner of Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington, but you also imagine the press conference. Not only does Belal have intense beef with Leon Edwards, and he'll build, if Belal wins, which I don't think he will, but if Belal does win, that press conference sells the future fight with him versus Covington or him versus Leon Edwards alone. Not only does he have that beef with Leon Edwards, because they can't stand each other, he also has beef with Covington, and they're going to go back and forth. And it would just be an absolute Strickland fest without Strickland. You don't need Strickland for this press conference. He'd be the perfect guy. So instead of John Anik or Dana White in the middle, let's have Sean Strickland hosting the press conference between all of these. But Belal Muhammad, Shavkat Rakmanov, amazing fight in the welterweight division to have on the card. And you can say, hey, Belal Muhammad, I know we didn't give you the title shot. And Edwards versus Covington is going to be happening next. But how about you jump on the same card, and if anything happens to one of them, you're the guy we call up to take that title shot and fill in and save the card, and we'll find a replacement opponent for Shavkat Rakmanov. All of a sudden, Belal's going to be like, damn, this opportunity is too good to pass up. Not only do I get a potential short notice replacement situation, but I get to be on a massive pay-per-view card, get a ton of spotlight, and at a press conference and during the build-up, build my hype for my next fight with Leon Edwards or Colby Covington, should I get past Shavkat Rakmanov. I think that's going to be a good one. Belal Muhammad, Shavkat on the card. Now let's talk about the prelims as well. The headliner of the prelims. I don't agree with it being in the headliner position, but you know the UFC is going to do it. A fight that's been discussed as to be on the card of UFC 290. Bo Nickel. He's coming back, and he's taken on, and this is already in the works for UFC 290, he's taken on Tresean Gore on that card. I think that's what they should do. Headliner of the prelims. I know it doesn't make too much sense for this to be above some of the other fights that I'm going to pull out on the prelims, but Bo Nickel, Tresean Gore, affordable. The UFC doesn't pay him too much, and it's a big fight to have on the prelim as the headliner. People are going to pay attention to Bo Nickel. As much as people don't like him and didn't like him being on the main card of the pay-per-view, the numbers in his interviews speak for themselves. They're working on this fight. Put him in the prelim headliner position, not only because it's a big fight and it deserves to be maybe in the prelim spot just based on how big the fight is because of Bo Nickel's name, but it's also a one-round fight, in my opinion. Either Bo Nickel destroys Tresean Gore in the grappling and submits him, or Tresean Gore scores the upset and flatline KOs Bo Nickel. That's the coin flip of this fight. Not really a coin flip because it's massively in favor of Bo Nickel. That's the weighted coin flip of this fight. Bo Nickel, Tresean Gore, you want that first round finish to be the headliner of the prelims so people can get really amped up over a great fight with a finish, and then they can be enticed to buy the pay-per-view afterwards after watching this on television before. That's what you want to do. And you also want to make it a first round finish so they get a whole bunch of time to promote the main card on live television. You know what I mean? Because live television, their schedule is to go on until the third round is over, until a decision has been done, a full fight decision. If that fight finishes in the first round, which likely it will, the UFC now get 10 minutes to promo every single fight on the main card. Jones Miocic, Edwards Covington, Poirier Gaethje 2, Cruz Garbrandt 2, Belal Muhammad Shavkat Rakmanov. Money. We move on. Plus, Volk versus Rodriguez wasn't on this card. I know they were discussing it to be on this card. I think they're going to try and push that forward to June. We can't let Nunes headline a pay-per-view in Canada. We can't do that to the poor people of Canada. Okay? We move on to another fight on the card, which is going to be the co-main event of the prelims. People are going to be tuning in beyond belief. Millions of live viewers. They're all going to be making sure they're there for the Bo Nickel fight. Movsar Evloev. And the man who deserves the shine of this card. Nate the Train, baby! Clarksville! Steiner! Nate the Train in the UFC! We need Nate the Train on this card, 100%. Just won against Austin Lingo. Didn't take too much damage whatsoever. Make this fight on this card, please. He's the only one calling out Movsar Evloev. Movsar Evloev's looking for an opponent. No one really wants to fight him. You know, I mean, he's a beatable opponent, but people would prefer other opponents than Movsar Evloev. They have history. They have beef. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Nate the Train's been calling him out for a long time. They both had belts at M1, and they were supposed to be fighting each other. Nate the Train took his M1 belt off of a friend of Movsar Evloev in Russia. And they were supposed to be making a fight between each other. Both of them got signed to the UFC. Movsar first, of course. Let's make this fight happen. Movsar Evloev, Nate Landwehr. And if Nate Landwehr loses, Movsar gets a ton of shine because people are going to be tuning into that fight. And now you can actually use Movsar because he'll be a bit more of a name, rather than just some no-name who's just beating everyone. You want the person beating everyone to have a bit of stock and name value. If Nate Landwehr pulls off the upset and wins, a superstar is born at UFC 290. If he pulls off the upset in that fight, which ain't that far-fetched because he's got a great style to do so, his counter-wrestling is some of his best work. He's a star if he wins and gets on the mic and does what he does. We move on to another fight on the prelims, which will be Amanda Ribas. You want some eye candy on the prelims? I tried to steer clear of too many female fights on the card. I do want it to be a good card, but I wanted to add one of them on there. I'm going to sneeze. Amanda Ribas versus Maycee Barber. Now, they both fought recently. Earlier this year, Maycee Barber just fought as well. Didn't really take too much damage in her fight. Put this on the prelims. It's just a good... There's got to be one female fight. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to put any of them on there, but we got to put one just to show, you know how it is. They're going to put one female fight on the card. And, to be fair, Amanda Ribas and Mackenzie Dern have fun fights. They have fun fights, and this will be a scrappy stand-up fight between the pair of them. So if there's going to be any female fight or women's MMA fight on this card, let's let it be this one. Put it on the prelims. It's a good fight. They have followings of their own. They're going to bring a ton of attention to the prelims. People that have watched that fight after that fight will then see Nate the Train fight and will then stick around for the main event of the prelims. That's going to have a ton of attention as well. So you're forming like a Nate the Train sandwich here. You know, people are going to tune into Ribas versus Dern, or not people are going to tune in for it, but it's going to build up throughout the card to that point. And then you got Bo Nickel, Trayshawn Gore. So all eyes are going to be on Nate Landwehr versus Evloev, which is an important fight to have eyes on. I'm running out of words. We move on to another fight on the prelims, the opener of the prelims. Dominic Reyes. It's time for him to come back. Dominic Reyes versus Volkan Ozdemir. Both of them haven't fought in quite a while. This will be, I think, 6 or 7 months since they fought on any card. I think they both haven't fought in 2023 yet. So this will be a good 6 months of relaxing time and rebuilding themselves time. Get them on this card. Dominic Reyes, Volkan Ozdemir, they fought each other before. I believe at like a UFC London or something like that a long time ago. I'm not too sure, but I think it was the co-main event of a London card at some point. But yeah, Dominic Reyes versus Volkan Ozdemir. Massive matchup in the light heavyweight division. A rematch after a very close initial fight between them. Some people think Ozdemir won. Some people think Dominic Reyes won. Very controversial decision. So let's make it happen again, because this way we get to see which one of them is actually improving. And it's a winnable fight for both, rather than feeding them to an up-and-coming light heavyweight as a Matt Mirzakhanov or something, you know what I mean? So, Dominic Reyes, Volkan Ozdemir, solid fight to kick off the prelims, and that's going to create a ton of attention to then move on throughout the prelims. We move on. Early prelims. Here, you just want to make sure they're fun. At all costs, you want to make sure the early prelims are fun. They might not be the biggest names in the UFC. You want to make sure every fight is going to be fun and entertaining. Because a lot of people, they'll start watching the card on the early prelims, and if it's dull and boring and they're a casual MMA fan, they'll be like, I'll just skip and wait until the main event or co-main event. You know what I mean? I'll wait until Poirier Gaethje and some of the main card fights. You don't want them doing that. You want to keep people interested all the way throughout the rest of the prelims as well. And this is how you do it. Bruno Silva versus Joaquin Buckley in the middleweight division. Both of them coming off losses. 2 losses in a row for both of them. They're going to be fighting for potentially their career, is what they're going to be fighting for here. And it's a solid matchup. Both guys love to throw down, and that will be a fun fight no matter what. I guarantee you that's a fun fight. So that's what you do as the Fight Pass early prelim headliner. Bruno Silva versus Joaquin Buckley. Great matchup. No doubt going to be a fun fight. Another fun fight that you can add to the card. Alexander Hernandez versus Nasrat Haqparast. No matter what, a fun stand-up affair between 2 great strikers in the lightweight division that are going to throw down against each other. They both got momentum recently. Let's put them against each other and have a matchup. I'm sure it'll be a fun matchup on the prelims as well. And it's also, Hernandez is a decently big name. People know of Nasrat Haqparast as well. It makes sense in terms of the outside of the rankings of the lightweight division as well. We move on to another fun matchup on the prelims. That's going to be fun. Marcin Prachnio versus Vitor Petrino, I believe. He had a good fight with Anton Turkalj. Pretty dumb fight IQ-wise. But both strikers in the light heavyweight division. Both going to scrap it out with each other. And I think it'll be a great one. I think Vitor Petrino could score a KO over Prachnio. But Prachnio's been looking really good. So maybe he kicks the hell out of Vitor Petrino and beats him in that fashion. So that'll be a fun fight in the light heavyweight division. And then we move on to open up the card of UFC 290. And make sure that from the get-go, people are interested. The comeback of Terrence McKinney. Terrence McKinney comes back on the card against an opponent that's also a decently big name, that has some popularity, that's also coming off a loss, that makes sense rankings-wise for McKinney to take on, that McKinney can probably KO in the first round and start off the card good with. Claudio Puelles. Coming off a loss to Dan Hooker. No stand-up skill, no ability to get the fight to the ground. This is a great fight because it not only does it make sense, but it's McKinney's choice. He can score a good, solid first-round KO, or if he ends up on the ground, he can either dominate it there or Puelles can dominate and get a submission from there as well. Great matchup to start off the card. Massive, massive card overall. This sells 1.4 million pay-per-view buys. 100%. And notice a little trend on the card that I like to do. I feel like when you watch a bantamweight bout, a featherweight bout, a flyweight bout, back to back to back, it kind of ruins it. Ruins the card a little bit. It becomes all a bit slow and the same. I like to jolt it up a little bit, you know what I mean? Start off with a really fast-paced lightweight bout. Move up to light heavyweight with Prachnio versus Petrino. Move back down to lightweight, to Hernandez versus Nasrat. Move back up to middleweight, Bruno Silva, Joaquin Buckley. Light heavyweight, Reyes versus Ozdemir. Make the women look really fast and technical by comparison, Amanda Ribas and Macy Barber. You don't want to have a men's bantamweight bout where they're looking absolutely amazing technique-wise and then put on a women's fight afterwards. You want to have a light heavyweight bout that might get sloppy and not the best technique-wise to make the women by comparison not look so bad. Amanda Ribas, Macy Barber, then we move on. Evloev, Nate Landwehr, back up to middleweight, Bo Nickel, Trayshawn Gore, and the main card speaks for itself. Like and subscribe. Imagine the press conference. Covington at a press conference with Jones, Miocic, Edwards, Poirier, Gaethje, Dominic Cruz, Cody Garbrandt, Bilal Muhammad, and Shavkat Rakmanov sitting there in silence on the corner of the screen. Imagine. See you later. Goodbye.